The rain had been falling for hours, the kind that soaks through your clothes and settles deep into your bones. On a quiet street lined with modest homes, a young girl sat on the curb, hugging her knees, trying to make herself invisible to the world rushing past her. She had nowhere to go, and no one to call. Across the street, a single father stood by his window, watching. He had seen struggle before. He had lived through loss. But something about this moment, about her, made him pause. He didn't know it yet, but one simple decision that night would change both of their lives forever. Before we begin, if stories like this touch your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Welcome to Corner of Kind Choices, where small acts of kindness lead to life-changing moments. Mark Johnson was a 38-year-old single dad raising his 10-year-old son, Ethan. Life hadn't been easy since his wife passed away 5 years earlier. Between working long hours as a mechanic and trying to be both mom and dad, Mark often felt stretched thin. But one thing he never lost was his belief in doing the right thing even when it was hard. That night, he had just finished putting Ethan to bed when he noticed the girl outside. She couldn't have been older than 18. Her hoodie was drenched, her shoes muddy, and her face, tired in a way that spoke of more than just the rain. Mark hesitated. Maybe someone else will help her, he muttered to himself. But deep down, he knew that wasn't true. He grabbed his jacket, stepped outside, and walked slowly toward her. "Hey," he said gently, keeping his distance so he wouldn't scare her. "You okay?" The girl flinched slightly, then looked up. Her eyes were red, not just from the cold. "I'm fine," she said quickly, though her voice betrayed her. Mark nodded, recognizing that tone. It was the same one he used when people asked how he was doing after his wife died. "You don't look fine," he said calmly. "Do you have somewhere to go tonight?" She shook her head. For a moment, the world seemed to stand still. Cars passed. Rain continued to fall. And in that silence, Mark made a choice. "You can come in," he said. "Just for the night. It's warm. You can dry off, get something to eat." The girl hesitated, clearly unsure. "I have a son," Mark added quickly. "He's 10. It's just us. You'll be safe." After a long pause, she nodded. "Okay," she whispered. Her name was Lily. Inside the house, Mark handed her a towel and one of his old sweatshirts. Ethan peeked from the hallway, curious but quiet. "Who is she?" Ethan whispered. "Someone who needs help," Mark replied softly. Lily sat at the kitchen table, wrapping her hands around a mug of hot tea like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. Slowly, piece by piece, her story came out. She had aged out of the foster system just a few months earlier. No stable home. No family to fall back on. She had been couch surfing, working odd jobs, trying to stay afloat. But when the last place fell through, she ended up on the street. "I didn't think it would be this hard," she admitted, staring into her cup. "I thought once I turned 18, things would just get better." Mark didn't interrupt. He just listened. Because sometimes, that's the greatest kindness of all. The next morning, Lily tried to leave early. "I don't want to be a burden," she said. But Mark shook his head. "You're not a burden," he replied. "You're just in a tough spot. There's a difference." He offered her something unexpected. "Stay a few days," he said. "Get back on your feet. We'll figure something out." Lily wasn't used to people offering help without expecting something in return. But there was something about Mark, something steady, something real that made her believe him. So she stayed. Days turned into a week. Lily helped around the house, cooked meals, and even helped Ethan with his homework. At first, Ethan was shy. But kids have a way of sensing sincerity, and soon enough, he started opening up. They laughed together, played board games, watched movies. For the first time in a long while, Lily felt like she belonged somewhere. But Mark knew this couldn't be permanent. "You deserve your own life," he told her one evening. "Let's start building it." He helped her apply for jobs, drove her to interviews, and even connected her with a local community center that supported young adults transitioning out of foster care. It wasn't easy. There were rejections, setbacks, moments where Lily wanted to give up. "I'm not good enough," she said one night, tears streaming down her face. Mark looked at her firmly. "Don't let your past decide your future," he said. "You've already come this far. That means something." Finally, Lily got a job at a small cafe. It wasn't glamorous. The pay wasn't great. But it was a start. The day she got her first paycheck, she came home with a small cake. "What's this for?" Ethan asked. "It's a celebration," Lily said, smiling through tears. "For a new beginning." They sat around the table, laughing, sharing stories, and for a moment, everything felt right. A month later, Lily found a small apartment she could afford. The night before she moved out, she packed her few belongings quietly. "I don't know how to thank you," she said to Mark. He smiled. "You don't have to," he replied. "Just promise me one thing." "What's that?" "When you see someone else struggling, don't look away." Lily nodded. "I won't." Ethan ran up and hugged her tightly. "Are you coming back?" he asked. "Of course," she said, her voice breaking. "You're stuck with me now." Years passed. Life moved forward. One afternoon, Mark sat in the same living room, now a little older, a little quieter. Ethan was in high school. Things had changed, but that night in the rain was something he never forgot. Then there was a knock on the door. When he opened it, he froze. It was Lily. But she wasn't the same scared girl anymore. She stood tall, confident, with a warm smile that carried strength and kindness. Behind her was a sign on a van that read, "Second Start Outreach, helping youth find their way home." "I started something," she said. "For kids like me." Mark's eyes filled with emotion. "That's amazing," he said. "I couldn't have done it without you," she replied. Lily had gone on to build a small nonprofit organization that provided shelter, job training, and support for young adults aging out of foster care. She had turned her pain into purpose. And it all began with one act of kindness. One open door. One person who chose not to walk away. That evening, they sat around the same kitchen table again, laughing, sharing stories, and remembering how far they had come. Ethan looked at Lily and said, "You're like family." Lily smiled. "I always was." Sometimes, we think kindness has to be something big to matter. Something grand. Something extraordinary. But the truth is, it often starts with something small. A question. A moment of attention. A decision to care. Mark didn't have a perfect life. He didn't have extra money or endless time. But he had something powerful, a willingness to help. And that made all the difference. So the next time you see someone struggling, someone sitting alone in the rain, someone who feels invisible, remember this story. Because you never know how one simple act of kindness can ripple through someone's life. You never know whose future you might change. Kindness doesn't just help others. It transforms us. And sometimes, it creates a family where none existed before.